Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another Godzilla figure to check out. This time we actually have something a little bit different, as lately we've mostly been looking at Hiya Toys releases, but this time we have a Godzilla Store limited edition movie monster series Titanosaurus from Bandai. Now this figure was one that I absolutely had to have, and if it weren't for my son pointing out the fact that it did recently release, I probably would have missed it. But this figure is of course, Titanosaurus, which is probably one of my all-time favorite kaiju from any of the Godzilla films. I don't know what it is about this monster, the sound that he made, everything about this one was just one that I really gravitated towards as a child. The film, of course, that this monster takes center stage in, or maybe not center stage, but stage in, would be the Terror of Mechagodzilla film from 1975, and it's a film that I grew up watching. It was consistently on those, Saturday monster movie marathons, and one that I grew very fond of when I was younger. And of course, that love for this kaiju floats over to me as an adult, and there are a few kaiju that I have a major soft spot for in the Godzilla franchise, like this and Varan, and there's just a few out there that I really love, and this is definitely one of. And I've always wanted to get a very cool Titanosaurus figure. I do actually have a massive model of Titanosaurus that I was able to acquire thanks to a good friend of mine, but I somehow still have not actually put it together and painted it and stuff because I just never have any time for that kind of stuff, as I'm always trying to get videos and everything done here for the channel. But this figure honestly looks awesome if you ask me, and the fact that it is a limited, I believe, Godzilla Store exclusive makes it even cooler, and one of the reasons why I wanted to get this review up pretty quickly in case anybody was interested in grabbing one for themselves before it sells out. I don't want you guys to miss it. But the figure looks extremely, extremely cool here, of course, at first glance. So let's jump to a closer look and we'll check it out from there. So starting up here at the head sculpt of Titanosaurus, you can see it looks pretty darn nice. Of course, the skin texture isn't insanely highly detailed, but for what it is, considering it is a Bandai figure like this, I think it looks really good. And you can see like some bumpy osteoderms and stuff here on the side of the face, pretty much something that Titanosaurus is overloaded with. We do also have the mouth sculpted in an open position. We can see the teeth are painted out. They're kind of all sculpted together, not really sculpted that nicely, because even though it looks like they're sculpted individually because you see them painted individually, they look like they're all just one big piece of material in there. Well, for what they are, I think they look quite nice. You can also see the tongue sculpted out in there, kind of. It's not really like, there's no real paintwork for the inside of the mouth outside of the teeth. But the tongue, obviously, you can see it kind of sticking out there of the lower jaw with that split end, and it does look really cool. You can also see a bit of variation of color, as we have some black here in the face. You've also got some reds running up and over the top of the head. We have the eyes painted out with a very nice yellow, and you can see there is even a gloss coat added to the eyes, and that gloss coat kind of runs up there behind the eye as well. You can see a yellow that kind of stripes through the face, and then as you lead up into the top of the head, you do have those spikes up here, those like horns on the top of the head of Titanosaurus, as well as his sail-like look, because obviously our Titanosaurus is a semi-aquatic creature. You can definitely see that as you move through the body, considering he's got all sorts of like fins and stuff on him. But you can see we have some very nice variations of color on the figure. You've got like these almost like orangish, pinkish tones. They're very interesting, like coral type colors, I think is a type of coloration that I use quite often when painting my figures. Has a similar tone to this, and you can also see more of that up here in the sail-like fin area up here on the back. You can also see it transitions very smoothly to a lighter tone as you lead out there toward the end. As we continue to move down, you do actually have an area of articulation right here in the neck, so you can turn the neck of Titanosaurus, and that would swivel all the way around if you would like it to. As you continue to lead down, you see the osteoderms of Titanosaurus are absolutely everywhere, but they're also nicely painted. They very clearly have dry brushed this out very nicely, and pretty much nailed every osteoderm that I can pretty much see as you move down. You can also see some more of that pinkish tone picking up here, continuing to have that following along the back there. You can see a different tone of color for the underside, almost like a metallic shine to the gold tone of the underside of the neck and throat. All sorts of like wrinkles and stuff as you move down into the chest of Titanosaurus. You do see more of that, again, that goldish metallic tone leading down. Very, very minor texturing to this area, but again, that's pretty much what it looks like in the film, so not really expecting more than that. And then as you continue to move down, we do have some more variation of color popping up here and there, as you have like some yellowish green tones, more pinks and stuff. Again, continuing to have that dry brushing, highlighting all of the osteoderms. We do have articulated arms for Titanosaurus, which can go all the way back around. If it weren't for the leg stopping it, it could probably swivel the entire way around. As you move down into the arms, again, you see those same variations of color I was just speaking of. As you lead down into the hands, the fingers are sculpted quite nicely, and you also have the nails painted, which also look really good. I think overall they've done a very nice job of painting out this Titanosaurus, much better than I was actually expecting. As you continue to move down, you do see kind of like some slight wrinkling and creasing right there in the stomach region of Titanosaurus. You see more of the yellowish or like yellowish green and pinkish tones showing up here and there. Leading down into the leg, you've got the muscle definition displayed, the kneecap. You can also see again more of that variation of color, more of those osteoderms absolutely everywhere. You lead down into the foot sculpt. The toes are sculpted nicely. Again, the nails painted just like we saw on the hands up there. And then you lead back up here. Actually, before we go too far, of course, you have articulation in the legs, which doesn't really go too far back, but can go up pretty high. And it's pretty much your standard when it comes to the type of articulation you usually find in these Bandai type figures. And then you lead out here into the tail, and it looks like we should have articulation for the tail, because it really like has that genuine look of articulation, but I can't get it to move. I don't know why. So I guess there isn't articulation in the tail. But as you lead out, you do end in that massive tail fin here for Titanosaurus, which looks super, super cool. Of course, ending our kaiju in an extremely flashy way. And you're going to see pretty much the same thing over here for the opposing side. The only difference is we have a giant tag here, which I at one point was considering taking off, but I think I've moved on from that. I think I'm just going to keep it on there because it is, again, a figure that I feel like will be a little bit hard to get a hold of in the future, so I'd prefer to just keep the tag on it to keep it as, new, I guess, as possible. But overall, in my opinion, this is absolutely one of the best Bandai figures that I've purchased in a very long time. Maybe I'm a little biased because I just love Titanosaurus so much, but this figure is honestly as epic as it gets when it comes to this type of Bandai release. As far as a size goes, for a length from the top of the tip of the tail, actually I guess we go from the bottom of the tip of the tail to the top of that sail on the head there, about 9.5 inches or 24 centimeters. And if we go for a straight up height, about 7.25 inches or around 18.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, of course, we have our usual comparison pieces with Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus Robert Muldoon in the Collect A Human Being, next to our Bandai Titanosaurus. But if you're a kaiju collector only, these figures aren't going to probably help you that much, though if you are a kaiju collector, you probably already have a pretty good idea as far as what this type of figure would be size range-wise, because the Bandai figures, sometimes they stray a little bit further from the usual size range, but not too far. So for another comparison to show you that, we've got ourselves a Bandai Burning Godzilla next to our Titanosaurus, which you can see again. The Titanosaurus is a little bit larger than, but overall they're kind of similar in size, at the very least when it comes to body mass, just a little bit taller on Titanosaurus. If we bring in one of the recent Playmates Godzilla X Kong figures, the evolved version of Godzilla, you can see pretty much the same size as what we had seen with the Bandai Godzilla as well. And then when it comes to these type of figures, we also have the Varan here next to Titanosaurus, which I never actually reviewed the Varan figure. So if you guys would like to see a review of that one, definitely let me know, and I will, of course, get a video up for that figure. But obviously very different when it comes to the posture and poses of these guys. So the size comparison is just mostly just to look at and see how cool it is to see two of my favorite kaiju next to each other. And then one final comparison, we also have the Hiya Toys Godzilla King of the Monsters Godzilla here next to our Titanosaurus from Bandai, and you can see these two are pretty similar in size. Godzilla is just a hair shorter than Titanosaurus. So again, another super cool figure from Bandai. I've actually been really liking the newer releases from Bandai a lot. And especially when it comes to these movie monster series figures, this one is excellent. Probably my favorite Bandai figure I think I have in my collection as far as Godzillas go. And again, there may be some bias in there, as I just absolutely love Titanosaurus and am over the moon excited to finally have a Titanosaurus in my collection, but I think they did a really good job on this one when it comes to the overall, like screen accuracy of Titanosaurus. I feel like it's pretty spot on. Of course, if you want to make it as absolutely picture perfect as you see on screen, it's going to take a bit more paint application than what you see here, and considering, that is not something you usually get for a toy like this, it's not that surprising that, that would be the case. But I think the paint apps that they have given this look pretty good and definitely, replicate the overall appearance of Titanosaurus for the most part pretty decently, just not perfectly. But the sculpt is really well done. There's a lot of very nice fine detail throughout, all sorts of nice skin texture, skin wrinkles and folds here and there, and just overall fantastic detail for a Bandai figure. You've of course got some articulation, decent articulation, not incredible. You're not really ever going to find incredible articulation in this toy line from Bandai, but what you do get is pretty much like that classic Bandai articulation, and I think it seems to work pretty smoothly overall. I wish the tail had some form of articulation, but it's not the end of the world. And again, seeing as this is a limited release, I definitely would recommend grabbing it right away. So if you are interested in grabbing one, I will include a link in the description to the Godzilla store where you can head on over there right now and grab this figure for yourself. So if you'd like to, again, check the links that I will include in the description. Make sure you pick up this Titanosaurus and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.